Hello everyone, we are in week 13 and we'll be covering chapter 7, which is all about cognition, and that includes thinking, intelligence, and language development. So we're skipped out of order here, going back to chapter 7, and this is just the order that I prefer to do it in. I like covering this actually right before we talk about psychological disorders. I think it's interesting to do, and I like talking about it right after we've covered personality. So we're going to be diving into chapter 7. Here is the weekly to-do list. Again, I suggest you work in this order for the best sort of productivity here. You want to review the objectives for chapter 7, which are here. You'll be looking at mental images in the process of thinking. So this goes back to like Piaget, how he said we create schemas and concepts for things to represent our world. So we're going to take a look cognitively what that means, what that looks like, concepts, prototypes, how people solve and make decisions, kinds of thinking patterns are involved there, barriers to problem solving, and then creative and divergent thinking, what creates for a different kind of mindset that verges from the norm. We're going to compare and contrast some different theories of intelligence. What is intelligence? What's IQ, i.e. measuring intelligence? How do we do that? What are the qualities of the tests that are designed to measure intelligence and IQ? And what about intellectual disability and giftedness, those two different ends of the spectrum? We'll look at those, as well as emotional intelligence, or EQ, defining what that means and how is it different from IQ. And then we'll be taking a look at the genetic component of intelligence, just how much does heredity play a role, as well as the environment, the nurture side of the coin. And then the latter part of the chapter will look at language development. What are the different elements and structure of language? How does language develop? How does it influence how people think? We'll talk about some bilingual aspects here of people who are bilingual. How do they think differently based on what language they're using? And what's the research like that studies communication and studies language? And what kinds of cognitive biases exist that might impact our decision making? So all of that's interesting. And if you're an education major, this area kind of maps right onto speech therapy and speech pathology. It's kind of like a little carve out of that field or that area. So some of you might be interested in that. That's a kind of the overview. You want to make sure that you're checking the lecture slides here. Once you've done that and you've done the readings and you've followed these lecture slides, again, these are interactive, so you'll want to click through them and watch the videos that are in there too. Then you're going to be ready to do your discussion for this week, which is based in Hawk 4.2, called Just How Are You Intelligent? And this is an interesting one because it looks at Howard Gardner's study of multiple intelligence and how we aren't defined by just the traditional IQ, but how he has looked at intelligence in many different domains or categories for an individual. And you'll see sort of what the proponents of this theory say, as well as what the critics of this theory say, and you can be the judge of what you think and what you have to say for that. And you want to use the reading, the Hawk reading, as well as the chapter reading to support your viewpoints in answering these questions for this week's discussion. When you're done with that, you'll be ready to take your quiz, which is on chapter 7, cognition, and then you'll be ready to go. And that will finish up our week. Your next test actually doesn't come, I think, until, let's see, week 15, when we're going to be covering psychological disorders and therapy. So you have a little bit of time between now and then. Hopefully that will give you enough time to prepare and study for that exam. But if you have any questions as you're working through the material this week, you're going through the lecture slides, anything that you have questions about, please let me know. Please email me. Otherwise, I hope you all are enjoying your social distancing and your quarantine. Hopefully you're able to connect with some friends via FaceTime or just making, plain old-fashioned calls. Definitely reach out to people during this time because it can be socially isolating. Just making sure that y'all are keeping in touch with one another, family members and friends and such. And just hope that you can take some time to enjoy this quieter time, I guess you could say, with those people that you love. All right, bye everyone.